boys wanna chat. Big, make the boys wanna chat. Baby dolls make the boys wanna chat.